Alright, party people, welcome back to Tomboy Official, back to the podcast. I can't even talk. Let's see if, oh, the surfer kind of just ate it. Let's see if I can record this topic. Kind of about dating, straight versus non-straight dating. Now, I'm about to do a lot of generalization. Just, again, like a lot of times I try to talk about my own experiences because it's hard to really just generalize and put everybody into a box and be like, like this happens, or, like saying things like, this happens to this person, or this type of person, or that happens to that type of person, or this is the experience for this kind of person. Like, it's kind of like, it's kind of hard to really generalize all that. So, I can explain more so from my own life, so I might just do it that way. I think there's going to be some overlap with the topic I recorded way back when I remember I was driving and I was recording about kind of like my some life experiences of dating, either when I was like younger, growing up, and just kind of different experiences along those lines, like when I was in school and stuff like that, as a youth and as a teen and in college and all that, and just kind of how stuff changed, and especially being on the more independent end of things, how life has kind of been a little bit different since that as well. So I would say for straight dating, one thing that I notice, it's a stereotype. This is a stereotype I'm about to express. Sometimes there's I hope you guys can hear the ocean. Sometimes there's a little bit of I don't know if it's like a conflict. Like, I don't know, because I'm not too immersed in this to really speak on it too intelligently, but I have noticed there's kind of like a lot of unspoken stuff. It's kind of like, okay, so say for example, with the straights, it sounds so funny to say, with the straights, shout out to all the straight people. I'd say with the straights, one thing that I have kind of been playing with this idea of noticing is that, and I've talked about it before, that sometimes people who are men tend to take the role of like initiating things. Now, this isn't always. Like, there's always exceptions, right? There's always exceptions. And I'm not, like, judging it and saying, like, oh, people should or shouldn't take the reins or whatever. There's always exceptions. But I would say, overall, like, I've overheard, cis straight females, have conversations around, like, oh, if this guy isn't like this or like that, it's kind of like a bad reputation, a bad status that they kind of give them. Things like, if a guy might not have a lot of money or a lot of hair or, a job, or, if they live with their mother and things like that. Like, there's certain kind of strange standards that I feel like cis straight men don't say that about women. They're not like, oh, like she doesn't have a nice car, or she didn't pay for dinner, or she didn't like take me somewhere that was like impressive. Like she didn't like try to like impress me on this date, or like pay for something, especially like early on. Like I've noticed like first dates, like early dating, like a lot of cis straight women might want to be like pampered and stuff. And this isn't I mean, I feel like I'm really stereotyping, but I feel like to some women I've heard them say that like they don't really want to like get involved with a guy who doesn't seem like he's trying hard early on. Like if a guy is just like wanting to do something completely free or cheap, I've heard people say like, oh, like he's cheap, or like whatever. I don't know though if guys think that about women. Like if guys are like, oh, like she didn't pay for my dinner, and like she didn't drive me home, and you know, I can't believe that she had like a shitty car. Like I don't I've never heard like a woman say that about a man, but I've heard women say that. I mean, I've never heard a man say that about a woman, but I've heard a woman say that about a man. But I do know a lot of women that are really like open-minded and aren't like shallow about that kind of stuff. But I do think that there is this kind of like weird thing in the air about like these weird statusy things. That's one thing, especially early dating. You know, it's one thing. I've heard guys say things about like height, that like they feel like maybe women don't find them attractive. These are straight people, like feeling like women don't find them attractive because of their height. I've heard people say stuff like for, you know, cis straight women, like maybe certain curvy women, or you know, some women with some figure to them, or maybe more masked women. Like a lot of men, cis straight men, maybe want women to look more effeminate and be shorter than them, and usually age range a little younger. Like some people have a complex about like size, tallness, shortness, ages, like, and I think some of that is because a lot of times, like, I don't know if people really want this. I don't know if I'm even accurate in saying this, but I feel like it's like men are kind of given that role to like kind of take charge of stuff and be the more dominant one in some ways, like be the provider, be the bigger person, be like like bigger as in like the taller person, the older person. But then I've also heard people say stuff like, you know, maturity levels, that a lot of times women can be more mature than men. And there was something that I noticed a little strange in like club culture that I don't know if it still happens, and I never really understood it, but I've known of some places like I had one experience once when I went, I don't remember where. I think there was some salsa night at like downtown Disney. There's like the salsa night they used to do, salsa dancing night, and women could be 18, but the men had to be like 21. And I went with a couple friends of mine, some of my kind of like older friends that I knew from around LA that were kind of like church folk, but they're kind of the people that kind of were like, they kind of like schooled me in a lot of early knowledge about like dating and different types of stuff like that. Like they're straight people, but we talked a lot about, you know, college and dating and just relationship stuff in general, and like I definitely learned a lot from them. I think at the time they weren't married, they were dating, but you know, I had this guy friend that I used to tag along a lot with them. So me and him would like always sit in the back seat, and they would kind of sit up in the front seat and drive us around and stuff. And they were a little bit older, and so I kind of like would observe like how they would do things, and like, you know, I was trying to be like in a part of like straight culture. It wasn't working. But me and this guy were friends. We never were like romantically involved in any way. Like, we're still friends. We're not romantically involved at all. We never were. Like, we would sit in the car and have like really lengthy late night conversations at like 2 in the morning out in front of the house, my house or his house, and like our parents' houses or whatever. And our parents would keep like looking outside and be like, what are they doing in the car? Because the windows would be all like fogged up and stuff. But that's about as far as it went. Like, you know, we never really were like physically involved or anything. Like, neither one of us was like into each other. There was nothing like that at all. But we definitely shared a childhood and a youth and teenage years and college years, and we shared a lot of our lives together. Like, I've known this person since I was like in single digit years, you know. I met them before I was like 10 years old, so we've known each other a really long time. So that was nice. It's always been a nice relationship we've had. We've definitely got a loyalty, but you know, we've never been like involved like that. We've never even like experimented with anything like that, other than just in a conversational way, and that's fine with me. Like, I'm not trying to like hook up with him or anything. Like, he's an attractive dude. Like, you know, I used to tell my female friends, I was like, yeah, you should date him, you know, like he's cool, you know. I would like talk him up a lot and be like, oh, he's a nice guy, he's really smart, he's really like fast, he runs really fast, he's athletic and tries really hard and comes from a good family, and he's you know, got a lot of good values and stuff. So I kind of used to you know, try to get him, you know, connected with women and stuff. But yeah, I remember me and him were gonna go. We weren't. It wasn't like a date, but it was like you needed like a guy-girl couple, and so I don't know how old we were, but we're like the same age, and we were both younger than 21 because he had to be 21. And I remember another time when we went. Yeah. So, anyways, I don't want to get into it, but basically, we went that night. Like, yeah. So there were other things that I kind of heard about like that, where it was like, where it was like we went. What was I trying to say? Like, yeah, like I've heard about settings where it's like clubs where it's like the guys have to be older than the women, or like there has to be more I don't know if there has to be more guys there or more women there. Like, there was like maybe more women available for the less amount of men or something, or maybe it was the other way around. I mean, I've heard at clubs. I don't have a lot to say about straight culture, honestly. I'm just trying to like dig stuff up because I don't really know. Like, it's kind of like a part of my past, and I've definitely got straight friends, but like, I don't really know what. I feel like a little like detached from straight culture, honestly. Like, I'm not like prejudiced against them, I don't think, or anything like that. I just culturally, I have my own preferences. I like to be around, you know, people that I might have a little bit of potential involvement with sometimes. Like, I love having straight friends. Like, I don't really care about the friend, like being friends and meeting new people and stuff. But like, you know, I do sometimes try to have, at least sometimes, have some kind of a potential for something to be more than a friendship. But I don't know. Like, I'm not always like looking for. Jesus Christ, I'm looking at people driving over. But I don't really like people. Sorry, that was weird. Somebody just like walked right by my car. I don't know why people are walking like so close to my car. It's kind of weird. Like, I'm not parked in an area where people would walk near me. Like, where it's not like a walking path. People keep walking, like, right in front of my car. Like, right by my open window, which is weird. It's like they're going out of their way to, like, walk around my car. But I don't know. I think people are like, here comes another one. Jesus Christ. I don't know. But I don't know. I'm parked along this, like, fence. And people keep walking along the fence. But there's no, like, path. They're just walking along the fence. And it's in the middle of a parking lot. So I don't know why they're walking along the fence. Like, there's a bike path down below. And there's a path that goes down to the beach that's nowhere near where I'm parked. So I don't know why people keep walking over here, but whatever. Yeah, like, I don't really think I'm usually too... I don't know what I was saying. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not always trying to, like, date somebody, but I would say, you know, I kind of do consider that as a potential when I meet people, kind of. Like, I feel like I'm like, I know enough straight people that I don't need to, like, actively go out of my way to, like, meet more. Especially because it's easier to meet straight people, like, they're everywhere. So if I'm gonna meet straight people, they're just gonna be there anyways. Like, I'm always gonna be meeting straight people. So I don't feel like I have to, like, actively, like, seek out straight relationships with people. Not dating relationships, but, like, straight, you know, friendships. Like, I already have plenty. But yeah, that's some of the stuff that I notice. That a lot of times, you know, there are these, like, roles, like, these gender roles that are really, you know, like, I've gone out with a guy before that was kind of, like, into gender roles. And for me, it was a little weird because I'm not. And so it was kind of like weird little stuff, like, you know, if I was ever, like, carrying something, and it could be, like, my stuff, but if I was, like, carrying something, like, for example, I used to play guitar a lot, you know, and or other instruments and stuff, and, you know, if I was ever, like, around them and I was, like, carrying, like, an instrument or carrying, like, a bag of, like, you know, like, an extra bag of groceries or something along those lines, they would always, like, take what I was carrying. Like, you know, if I was at school or something, they would never, like, necessarily be, like, carrying my backpack or whatever, but, like, you know, if I had something extra, I kind of noticed they would always, like, carry it, and I'm just kind of like, okay, I don't tend to, like, bring stuff with me if I can't, like, carry it myself. And if I need help to carry something, like, if I don't want, because I used to park really far a lot of times when I went places, and I would, you know, meet up with this person, and they would oftentimes, you know, like, you know, help me carry stuff. Like, if I had, like, an extra bag, like, say if I had some belongings I was carrying, like, I don't know what, but, like, let's say if we were gonna go to, like, a beach party or something, a bonfire or something, and I parked, you know, and they would wait for me to park, and, you know, if I had, like, stuff in my car, you know, like, in a bag or whatever, ready to go down to the beach, like, sodas, drinks, like, sandwich making, stuff like that, they would usually carry it. And to me, it was weird for me, because I was like, why are they carrying my stuff all the time? Like, because, you know, I brought the stuff, specifically thinking that, you know, I was going to be the person to carry it, because it's mine. I never really thought too much about that, about, like, you know, he should carry it because he's a man. Like that never had crossed my mind, but I think it was little stuff though. It wasn't like like the opening doors, and like whenever we go places, like he would drive, he would pay. Like it was real weird. Like I mean, I'm not saying I'm like that it was like bad. Like it was nice. Like it was really nice of him to be like that, but at the same time I was like, all right, you're kind of doing like the most. Like I'm kind of an independent person. I can kind of just do my own thing. Like I can carry my own stuff, I can pay for my own things, I can drive myself, but then it was kind of like, like he kind of took on a little more burden in that respect. And I was like, I haven't dated like that many cis men to have so many experiences like that, but I did find it, usually it was nice, but sometimes it felt a little unequal for me. Like I did find myself kind of like there wasn't like a lot of pressure. Like it was just kind of little stuff. Like say for example, like if I wanted to eat like at a certain place or meet up somewhere, like go on a date, meet at a certain place, like I would feel a little like obligated to like choose according to like somewhere closer to him, because okay, if he's gonna be driving from wherever I park my car, wherever we meet up, I don't want him to be inconvenienced driving all the way across the other side of LA, like over an hour from where he lives, just to pick me up and then take us all the way back to the other side of LA and then drop me all the way back home and then go all the way back. Like I was kind of more like, okay, well, I don't want to inconvenience him, or like, I would, if he would, he would plan stuff, like he would plan like everything. And that was nice because I'm not really into planning all that much. Like to me it's a little like usually my version of planning is like I'll show you what I do in my life when I'm hanging out by myself, or what I do with my friends locally in my neighborhood, or just interests that I have, share those with people, and like try to be like, understanding that not everybody has the same exact interest as me. Like for example, most people I know don't want to go snowboarding, so I'm not going to be like, yeah, I planned this date, we're going to go snowboarding for the weekend, like usually I'm not going to like do that to somebody. Like if they let me plan, I'm not going to like take them out of their comfort zone to like go do some random thing that like might be a little stressful for them. I usually don't do that, but yeah, I was a little bit, I don't know, to me it was just weird. Like it was just weird for me. Like there were always little things like that coming up where I was just like, yeah. I'm not saying like anything ended because of it. Like it was just something that I had never experienced. So I was just like, what is this? Like it's really weird. It was really weird for me. I was like, this is really strange. Like I've never like dated somebody who's really like into like taking, not that they were taking control of everything, but in a way they kind of gently were. Like they weren't like controlling. I wouldn't call it controlling, but I did feel a little bit like it did kind of sway my, choices of things, because I was like, well, I know how this guy is. Like he likes to pay for the meal. He likes to, drive. He likes to pay for the parking. He likes to do these kinds of things, and and so I would kind of like, when we would talk about, okay, what are we gonna do next, or where are we gonna go, or like where are we gonna, because we didn't live anywhere near each other. Like LA is giant, so like you can still be meeting up with people in LA and it takes you more than an hour to like still get to where they are. So I don't know. Somebody's coming again. Give me a minute. But I don't know. But yeah, I'll drop my phone. Yeah, to me that was a little weird. Uh, but I don't know how much more I really have to say about like the straight life topics. Like those are kind of like the major things I'd say that I've noticed. Um, there's probably a lot more. Uh, I think sexually there's more. Like I don't really know how else to like explain it though. Um, there's a lot of I don't know how to explain it. Like there's not as much flexibility, not like physical flexibility, but a lot of like there's not as much um, I guess as many options. Like I don't know. Like I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that I would say is like weird to me. Like I I don't know. I don't know if I should say it. I'm debating. I'm debating. I don't know. Like I would say, okay, so just recapping on some of the stuff I said, if I can even remember what I said, I would say when I haven't dated straight situations, uh, it's definitely like there's been a lot less roles. So in a way, it can be a little bit complicated um, to, you know, kind of know how to approach somebody. Like I find that a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, like queer relationships kind of have a little bit of a complicated factor that there can be a lot of blurred lines between, you know, friendships, casual friendships, hooking up, having sexual relationships with people, and being in a relationship. Like, I feel like it's like I'm not saying that like straight people don't just like hook up with people like one night stands and stuff, like they definitely do, but I feel like it's like they don't do it with their friends. Like I don't know a lot of straight people that are like male female relationships where they're just hooking up with their friends, or even like having a lot of like I feel like a lot of times there's like relationships where um like yeah, I don't really see I don't maybe I just don't have a lot of straight friends that just hook up with random people. Like they do. They hook up with random people, but I feel like they usually have some kind of a an understanding of like usually I've seen it that like usually it's like the guys that are kind of like um kind of playing the field. Like I don't know a lot of straight women where it's like they're playing the field and dating a whole bunch of different guys or hooking up with a whole bunch of different guys and like kind of screwing around with a lot of different guys, um, and you know um, they've got like a main guy and they're kind of playing the field with other guys. Like I don't really know a lot of women that do that, and maybe it's just the people I know. Usually it's the guys I know that are kind of like maybe they'll be into one woman and they'll kind of like still be kind of like dating around or like you know hooking up with other women and stuff. Like it's fine. Like I don't really think there's anything wrong with it, but I've seen it more guys doing that, or maybe they talk about it more. Like maybe women do it, but they just don't talk about it, and I don't really know. Um, like I don't know. Like I feel like a lot of my straight female friends have a lot of strange complaints about men that I just it's something that's hard for me to understand. Because because my relationships with men tend to be a little different. Like we're friends, you know, and we're kind of like bro-y friends sometimes. Um, like, and I have to get something straight. Like, I'm not like unattracted to men. Like, I don't not find them attractive. I just don't necessarily always pursue them. Like, I don't really have too strong of an interest to like look to pursue them. Mainly the reason why is because most cis straight men don't really want to have anything to do with LGBT culture, and I can't really see myself kind of trying to be in a long-term situation with anybody where they just want to go to straight spaces all the time. You know, they don't have any queer friends, they don't have any, you know, diversity of like sexuality and gender in their friend groups or family or anyone that they hang out with, and they just are very immersed in straight culture. I don't see myself being with somebody like that. And it's nothing against like straight people, but it's like I feel like most of the straight guys I meet don't really have enough flavor of diversity in their lives that I find attractive, like as far as like other places they would want to be at, or places they'd want to explore, or things they'd want to do. Like, I don't see them, you know, really being interested in like pride festivals, or, you know, trying to like take a trip every other year like San Francisco or some other kind of like queer events and all kind of like neighborhoods and all. Like, they'll go, but it's not like they're like into it. Like, it's not like that's what they want to do. Like, they'll go because like, oh, let's do this on occasion. But for me, it's like, dude, that's where I want to be all the time. You know, I don't want to be in like, you know, Gaslamp. You know, I don't want to be like, you know, I'd rather hang out in WeHo than like some other spaces in LA. You know, like, but I do like to switch it up. Like, I don't need to only be in queer spaces, but I feel like most straight guys I know don't want to be in enough queer spaces or have enough queer experiences that I would want to really have a life with them without having that, because I feel like I'd be just like stuck around, just it would be too straight for me. Um, like, I've even gone out with, you know, females that aren't really too connected with queer culture and only go to like straight spaces, and all their friends are straight and all their family's straight, and for me that's even hard, even though they might be gay and like everyone around them is like straight, like, and everything around them is straight. Like, to me that's a little hard, um because I'm like, well, I still have my friends and my own like segment, you know, that like, you know, I still participate in, but you know, if they don't want to participate in it, I feel like it's almost like it's like a cultural, like, it's almost like, say if you were Asian or like Latino or something, and like you're with somebody who just like doesn't understand your culture, doesn't want to understand even a little bit about your language or like your heritage, or ever like eat at places that your people, you know, have made these restaurants, or go into the neighborhood if they have like Little Tokyo, or like the, like, you know, the side of town where like everything's in Spanish and all, like, and they never want to be, you know, they don't want to go out to salsa nights or go out to like, you know, music events where it's like the native music, and like, you know, I think that would be pretty isolating for somebody, even on like an ethnic culture thing, and that's kind of how I feel. Like, it would be a little isolating, like, and I feel like I would be like dragging, like, I want to be like dragging some straight guy like to like some lesbian bar, you know. Like, I feel like it's just like awkward. um but I mean, like, I mean, friends, I have plenty of friends that do that kind of stuff, and I've never had a problem with, you know, cis straight men not wanting to do it. I just feel like they don't want to do it enough. You know, like, they don't naturally think about it, or like it doesn't cross their mind, because they're like, oh, you're a female, and so they just want to take me out as like a female, and they kind of just like ignore all the other sides of me. They just kind of are like, they treat me like a straight female, and I'm like, I'm not a straight female. So it's kind of like hard for me to kind of try to really be too serious about that kind of stuff. But I'm not opposed to the option. I mean, part of me almost wishes, in a way, in a strange way, I almost wish I would be like attracted to like some cis straight dude, um, or bi guy or whatever. Like, I don't think I've ever dated like a straight man. Like, I think I've only dated like bi guys. I've dated trans guys. I've dated non-binary people. I've never dated like a cis straight man. Um, to my knowledge, I haven't. But yeah, I've never really dated like a straight guy who's or a bi guy who's really into like gay culture either, you know? So it's kind of um I don't know. That's just my own experiences and my own preferences, but to each their own. But I almost feel like it would be maybe a little bit easier to be more immersed in like a straight world, because there's just a lot that you just don't have to think about, you don't have to deal with, you don't have to put up with. Like, you know, like I'm not really like trying to have kids or even like considering or thinking about it, but I do think about like if that ever did come up, if I was ever with somebody who that was like a deal breaker, or that ever did come up in a relationship, it's like I don't really know how I could be with somebody, raise kids with them, and be just completely like erasing like a lot of different parts of my own self. Like, to me, I wouldn't find that appealing. Um, but as friends, or just as getting to know people, or even like just going out on dates, but with nothing really particular in mind of like how long it's gonna last or whatever. Just like getting to know somebody, I'm pretty open minded about that. Like, I don't really care too much to really like screen people out. I don't really like, usually if it's not like a hard no, usually I'm gonna say yes to somebody to go out with them, at least to kind of test it out, see what it's like. I'm pretty open minded. Like, I'm not like desperate, but I'm very like open minded to people. So I don't know. Um, so there's that. Um, I don't know. And so I just that's maybe part of a way that I think about things. And then as far as the what do you call it? The the expectations of stuff. As far as somebody having like masculine, femoral expectations, there's a little bit of a blurred line in my experiences with the LGBT people I've gone out with. Like, it's been more flexible usually, quite a lot more flexible. But there still is a little bit of like, like some people are quite masc or quite femme. Like, I've definitely, known people, um, like say like non-binary people who are quite, you know, I'm just talking about a specific example of someone who's non-binary and is quite, like a lot of femme energy, and, um, you know, they're very, connected to like the effeminate side of themselves more than the mask side of themselves. And then I've known other people who kind of have more of like a masculine side of themselves and might sometimes feel like emasculinated about certain things, or like, whether that's like in the bedroom, or, dates, paying for dinner, like a certain perception. Like, it can be anything. Like, even if you're like dancing, like some people don't want you like like dancing from behind them or whatever. Like, they'd rather have you bent over, kind of thing. Like, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know how else to describe it, but like, yeah, like I've kind of noticed that kind of thing, but never like too extremely hard one way or the other on like every single thing. It's I've noticed, at least in my experience, it seems to be some things people kind of take sometimes more of like a more mask type of approach, other times more of a femme approach, but I've never really met anybody who's like hardcore, um, like, I don't know, like even the trans guys I've gone out with, um, you know, it's always kind of an interesting dynamic that I've enjoyed, honestly, is, trans men or trans women. And I'm not saying that I like date them just because I'm like, oh, this is like exciting and I think it's weird or whatever. It's not like that at all. Like I'm actually into them, like the specific people. It's not like a fetish or anything like that. Like, and I guess if people have fetishes, that's not like a problem. But I'm. It's not fetish for me. It's like I am genuinely interested sometimes, depending on the person. And you know, I've definitely noticed, my experiences with trans men are different than my experiences with cis straight men. Um, there's a lot more like understanding, I think, from someone who was, assigned female at birth. I think a lot of times, uh, for me at least, I feel like there's been more understanding, about like different types of things that maybe go on in society that are like things that like guys might do, things that men might do. I've, had certain, trans guys, bring up certain topics and be like, you know, like let me know if I'm too this way about like certain stuff. Like whereas I've never had like a straight guy be like, let me know if I'm acting too like aggressively or too, dominant or whatever. Like I don't think straight guys really care. Like honestly, I've never come across any that are like um that care if they're like pushing their weight around or care if they're kind of like, pushing their ideas around or like taking some kind of approach of like, oh, you're less than because you're a female or like you're weaker because you're a woman and like invalidating like that and stuff. Like I've never really seen many cis straight guys be like kind of take a back seat to that kind of thing and just be like, oh, like I need to kind of like sit back and like, you know, let this woman kind of have her time in charge or her, role and not kind of like try to overpower somebody. Like I've never really seen a cis straight guy do that, but I'm not saying they don't, but I've never experienced it. But I'm not saying that I've only experienced like cis straight men being like trying to be like ultra dominant or anything. It's not like that. It's just like I think most of the guys I know are pretty sensitive guys in my opinion. Like, they've got kind of like they can go back and forth with things. Um they're very emotionally intelligent. They're very like, they've kind of got it down. Like I don't usually have problems with guys in all honesty. Maybe a couple of them, but usually it's honestly not like a regular issue of mine. Fortunately. Um, but definitely, yeah, that's one thing I've noticed. Um, and all this time I'm kind of stalling because I'm debating if I want to talk about like, other things. I think all of it kind of translates into the bedroom though. Like I feel like a lot of times, like there's certain stuff cis straight men won't do or don't stereotypically do, or even if they do it, they don't want other people to know that they're doing it because it's like, in quotes, maybe they don't want someone to perceive them as gay or like someone to, think of them like I feel like this might not be true. It's just a sense I get. It might not be true at all. I feel like to some extent cis straight men are pretty uh like in society kind of given permission to have some kind of like sexual lifestyle that they don't have to like hide or anything, but there's very specific rules of stuff that maybe they're given more permission by society to do or not do. um, so that's one difference that I noticed, is that cis straight men tend to be more like sexually, like they'll talk about sex more. They're kind of open to, it's normal for them to be like, oh, like I masturbate or watch porn or like whatever. Like they can just say that and nobody's gonna really like bat an eye. Like it's almost considered almost more like an odd man out kind of situation if a guy is like, oh, I'm like asexual, or like I just don't have sex, or I don't have a libido or a sex drive, or something like that. Like usually it's kind of, that's kind of like something that I don't really hear a lot of guys. Like I'm sure that there are guys like that that exist, but there's only one guy that I can think of, one cis guy that I know who identifies as asexual, and most other guys that I know don't. Um, and I don't know if that's. I've never known cis, a cis straight man that identifies as asexual. I've only known non-straight men who do. Not many of them, but yeah, it seems more rare. But like I mentioned, I could be wrong, so I don't know. Give me a second. All right, so like I mentioned, people keep walking past my car. There's like a very narrow patch of dirt along this fence that I feel like people are walking their dogs along when they're in the parking lot, so maybe that's why people are walking past my car. But it's not really like a walking path, it's just literally like a foot and a half of dirt, and then there's a fence right next to it with some like ice plants right under sticking out. So I don't really know. But yeah, that's something I've noticed. That I think I'm accurate on that, but I could be wrong. I don't think cis straight men are given a lot of permission in society to really explore and experiment outside of certain things. I don't even like. Am I? I don't know. Okay, this episode might get deleted, not by me, but I don't know if it's gonna. I don't know this platform very well, so we're about to find out, guys. We're about to find out what's gonna happen. I'm not, trying to be like explicit for like some weird reason. It's just in my head, this is kind of how I'm seeing things. Like, I don't know a lot of straight cis men who are like, who would be into like pegging. Like, that's kind of like, uh, for most guys, kind of a hard no. It's too gay for them, even if it's like a woman with a strap on. Like, okay, like, I don't know if you've seen this music video by Lil Nas X. What's the name of it? Where he's like in jail, and there's like these gay guys everywhere, and like wearing pink and all this stuff. And I think Jack Harlow is in it. And there's like the scene where his rap part starts, and he comes out, and he's like, rapping, and there's an officer kind of like, I guess they were kind of, I don't know if it was like considered a conjugal visit or whatever, what the heck was going on in that scenario. But when his rap part starts, you see this woman kind of, this an officer kind of getting dressed back, like putting her clothes back together, and she's got like this strap on her, and it's like, in my head, I'm like, this guy just got pegged, but it's like, I don't really know what was happening with that. But I mean, there's only so many places to put it. Like, I don't know, like anal, oral, like, guys don't have that many other holes to really consider. So I mean, I don't know what happened in that scenario, but that was a little like, all right, Jack Harlow, you know, you go. But I was kind of like, yeah, other than that music video, I don't see a lot of like rappers with like that scenario of like women in their music videos, like ever. Like I've never seen like a straight video by like Nas or Jay-Z or Kanye or anybody that has like some woman taking some dominant role and just like like I don't know, I've just never seen it. I'm not saying it's even funny or that I'm just thinking of it in my head because the only women you see, they're usually minority women, usually black women, sometimes not. Sometimes there's like mixed races of people. They've usually a lot of times got like quite large hips, big butts, big boobs, limited amount of clothing on. You're usually shaking it all around, showing some skin, really kind of sexy looking women, femme women. And then like there's some older like kind of hip hop videos where you see kind of more almost like that masked 90s style like that you would see with like Aaliyah and Missy Elliott and like MC Lyte and like the Brat and like a lot of those other women that were like, I mean a lot of them were queer anyways, but they weren't like out back then. But like that was kind of more common in like hip hop culture. You'd see like masked women, but they'd still be talking about guys and like what guys do to them in bed, and like it was always like sexual. And like other than like the Lil Kims, you see like Lil Kim and like Foxy Brown, and like shout out to them, man. Like I, you know, talk about gay awakenings. Like basically, like yeah, this is like 90s and stuff. So like basically, they were like almost similar to what you would say like Cardi B or like Megan Thee Stallion, like kind of nowadays, kind of like femme, but kind of like hardcore, kind of like you know, but talked a lot about sexuality and different kind of stuff like that. Very sexual topics, and you know, kind of femme looking, but then like rap in general is a very male dominated field of music. Same with metal. Like you don't really see a whole lot of women metal musicians. They exist, but there's not like a whole lot of them. Like there's not like an equal amount of like metal female bands that are like popular and out there, or even metal musicians like bass players, drummers, even though they exist. But like you just really don't see a lot of, you know, females like dominating men in a sexual way in music videos. That just isn't normal to see. And I've really only seen that one example in that Lil Nas X video. I don't really know if there are others that exist. But most cis straight men that I know would not do that, or if they do that kind of thing in the bedroom, they would not like probably be too open to sharing about it with the whole world. I don't know if it's seen as emasculating. I'm assuming it is. I don't really know. Like, I don't really know what people think. Because in my head, it's like it doesn't matter. Like, for me, a female with a strap is not intimidating to me. It's not like something that I would be like, oh, like, I don't want to be around her because she's trying to like fuck me with this thing. Like that's not like something that in my head I'm like, oh, like stay away. Like I don't want to do that or whatever. Like that's not really how my head works about it. But I don't know. But yeah, so that's one thing. This is a stereotype. I think I'm gonna go into a stereotype realm with this topic. But oral sex, I don't really know if a lot of cis straight men go down on cis straight women. From what I've heard, it sounds like they don't. I don't know many female friends that I have that are like, you know, always like, oh, this guy like does that. With gay women, it's like, you know, gay women go down on gay women. Like, it just happens. Like, it's normal to do. Like, it's like, I don't know many women that don't. honestly. Like, I don't know many women that are like, I'm not giving another woman head. Like, I've never heard anybody say that, like, ever in my life. I know a lot of women that do it a lot. Like, I know a lot of women that that's all they do. Like, so I don't really know what men do with women, but I'm assuming they don't do that. Most straight women that I know or have encountered, or women that I've encountered that have only been with cis straight men, none of them have ever been like, oh, this is something that they normally do, that they're used to getting head from men. Like, or if they do, it's like a minute and a half kind of situation, like, okay, like, my turn, or like they don't want to do it anymore or something, or they complain about all kinds of things that I don't know what they complain about. Like, I don't know what, I just don't know what cis straight men know. I don't know what they know, but I don't know. I've heard them complain about like scents and different kind of things like that, and I'm like, I've never had that complaint. To my knowledge, I've never. There's people walking by my car right now. Give me a minute. Yes. Stand right here. Stand right by my window. You know. I'm just going to keep talking. Then if they're just going to stand right here, I'm just going to keep on talking. So basically, yeah, I've never really heard of any cis. I mean, I'm not like bashing them. I'm just saying, like, it's just not something that I hear people normally say. And correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong. I may be like so wrong that like men are just like doing this all the time and they just never say it. Like, I've watched The Sopranos before, as I've mentioned like 100,000 times. Like, it's a very homophobic series, not very culturally sensitive, but I like the show. It's pretty interesting. It has almost like no relevance to my daily life in any way, shape, or form. Like, there's nothing in my life that looks anything like The Sopranos series. Like, I don't live on the East Coast. I don't have anything against Italians and Italian Americans. I just don't know a whole lot of them. I know some people a little bit that might have some heritage, but I don't really know like a whole lot. Like, I'm not like around an area where there's like LA isn't known for having like a whole lot of Italians. Like, it's not really like something that LA is known for. They exist for sure, like they're here, but there's not like an area where they all live or anything, to my knowledge. I don't really know. Maybe there is. I think there's a Little Italy, isn't there? I don't even freaking know. No, that's in San Diego. Little Italy's in San Diego. But yeah, I don't really know. But alright, so I gotta start over this little segment because my phone decided to tell me that I only have 20% battery, and I think when I didn't press the button, it didn't say, and I was about 3 minutes into recording, and it didn't really, I can't really tell if if the audio was recording or not. So yeah, what I was trying to say is Sopranos, I don't think, okay, so in the Sopranos series, there's kind of this episode, or maybe it's a couple episodes, where they start talking about like one of the guys was like, giving head to one of his lady friends. I don't know what, it wasn't his wife, I don't know what consider themselves, but they kind of have these like ladies on the side sometimes, and this guy wasn't a married guy, so I don't know what you would call his lady on the side, but she was a lady that he wasn't married to but was hooking up with her. And I guess they had a falling out because, he was going down on her, and she, I guess, told some people, and he was really upset and pissed off about that. And then, I guess some other people found out about it, and, they were kind of like giving him shit about it, just like you know, that he gave head to this woman or whatever, and I don't know how that was like a problem, but I guess it's a cultural thing, or at least in the show they made it seem like it was. I don't even know if it really is. Um, and then one of the other characters was saying to his wife, like, you better not like tell anybody that I do that, because it's like a reputational thing. Like, I guess they get like not um like they get like disrespected for doing that. It's, to me, it's just wild. Like, I'm just like, wow, like, I don't know how that is something that like people would be like, I can't believe you do that to women, I can't believe you go down on women, and saying that to a guy. Like, I don't really know. Like, to me, it's such a, like, I don't know, I don't mean to like laugh, but to me it's such a weird thing. Like, it's almost, to me it's almost equivalent of like if I met a cis straight couple, and they're like, it's like a man with a penis and a woman with a vagina, and he's just like, we don't have sex that way, you know. And I know there are people that don't, but it's like, I feel like that's kind of like a norm, I would say. Like, it's almost like it's something that people like expect. Like, you know, I don't usually expect, I don't know what I don't know what I want to say, but basically, I don't know, I don't understand how that is considered like an odd thing for a man to go down on a woman. I don't know, like, I don't know what, like, if it's considered like too effeminate, or too like role reversing, as in like too much of like an emasculinating role to like go down on a woman. Like, I don't see how it would be a taboo. Like, in my head, I just cannot wrap my head around how that is a taboo for cis straight men. Like, to me, I'm like, if you're with the cis straight woman and you're having sex with each other, then all the sex you have is straight sex, unless you're role playing, maybe like a guy wearing a, I don't know what he would wear, but um you know, if you've gone to those like sex shops and they have these little like maid uniform little outfits and stuff, like having like a maid outfit on, like with a little skirt and little dust broom thing, and you know, being like a little maid, or wearing some kind of women's lingerie kind of thing, like stockings, pantyhose, panties kind of thing on a guy. Like, I could see maybe how somebody would be like, that's maybe a little gender bending kind of situation, but I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. For me, in my head, I'm like, I don't understand. Like, there's some things I just don't understand. And I'm not even trying to be like, oh, like, I'm like so open-minded about stuff, but I just don't understand it, because like my head just does not compute. Like, I just can't imagine myself being with a woman and being like, I don't want to go down on her, you know, because like, you know, she's femme, and maybe she's more femme than I am, and I don't want to go down on her. Like, I don't think that would ever cross my mind, like, ever. I would never think that, you know, unless they don't want to do it, or I don't like them, or they're not interested in doing it, or I'm not interested in doing it, or there's like some kind of health concern. But I don't really think that I would have like a reason to not want to do it. Like, there's no like reason where I'd be like, oh, like, God forbid anybody finds out, you know. Like, it would be more for like, God forbid anybody even finds out we're dating or like hooking up or anything. Like, it wouldn't necessarily be like for the specific act of like doing that specifically. I don't think I would really care what people knew about that, because it seems pretty normal to me, but I don't really know. And I think I mentioned this, like, I don't really know a lot of I don't really know if there's a lot of I don't know. Okay, so I wouldn't I've I don't think I've ever dated a woman that identifies as straight. I mean, I've known like the hetero flexible types, but never like cis straight woman that I've really dated, um, or been involved with sexually too much. But I don't know if I've ever come across a cis straight woman who has had a lot of experience with guys who go down on women. So that's why I kind of come to the conclusion that I don't really know if guys do that. And if they don't do it, I don't know why they don't do it. Because clearly women like to do it. Like, I've never heard many women be like, oh no, like, I don't like guys doing that. Or like, I don't like girls doing that or whatever. I've never heard a woman, other than the women that just don't prefer it or don't like it. It's not really generally like a thing that in general, other than like certain scenarios. Like, I know a lot of women, like, yeah, if they're hooking up with someone, they just met them and it's like a one night stand kind of situation, that they're not going to be just like going down on other women. Like, that is pretty normal, I would say, to come across. That most people would kind of maybe rather be in a more established or trusting or kind of a little more than just like a casual hookup kind of thing. Like, they don't really do that only casually, but that's about the extent. Or just like, if there's like some kind of like touch me not type of stud situation. Usually it's like, the only touch me nots I've ever come across are like studs. I've never really come across a touch me not femme, a touch me not anybody else other than like asexual people. I've never really come across a touch me not femme. I've come across touch me not studs, and I think there's something to that. I don't think that exists in straight culture. I've never heard of guys be like, I don't like women touching me or doing things to me sexually at all. I want to be the one who's like fully doing everything, and they don't do a thing. Like, I've never really heard any cis straight guys say that. I've never really heard, and it just because I've never heard it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I'm just saying, like, it doesn't seem like a common theme. It also doesn't seem like a common theme for cis straight women to be touch me nots. Like, I've never really heard of that term used other than like with queer studs. That's the only place I've really heard it. And it comes from a lot of different angles. Sometimes it's from a trauma reason. Sometimes it's from like a feeling that some studs feel like it's maybe emasculating to have a femme woman kind of like doing stuff to them, which to me is kind of, I never understood where that developed from, because a lot of, not all, but a lot of, I could be wrong in saying this too, but I feel like a lot of the mask types of culture that you see in queer culture a lot of times might come from like cis straight male culture. And so a lot of times that to me is just something that I find a little, I don't know where it came from. Because you don't really see it in straight culture. So I don't know why it's that specific group of, stud women. I think most people know what a stud is, but usually it's like a black woman that is very presenting, mask identified. And stud is a term reserved for black people. Maybe Latinx community, maybe, but usually it's a person of color. It's usually not a Caucasian masculine woman. Usually it's not. I've seen it start to be used, and people are like, that's not okay, to use that term in other cultures, because it's not there. It's not you. Like, you guys have butch, you have mask, you have other words. You don't need stud. That's not your thing. A stud is very specific. There's a very specific culture around stud culture. it's kind of almost like with Latino male culture, uh, there's like a lot of machismo kind of involved. I really don't know how to describe it. It's different. Like there's kind of like a lot of uh, I don't know if you call them gender norms, but like gender expectations of studs. I feel like studs tend to almost experience a more repressed sexuality. Not is repressed the right word? In a way, like a less permission by society for them to explore, almost like with gay males. Like, sorry, that's not what I meant to say. Almost like with cis straight black males. It can be a lot similar. Like, I feel like cis straight white males and cis straight Asian males kind of have a little more flexibility with sexuality related things compared to cis straight black and Latino males. I might be wrong there, but I do feel like there is this culture with those minority groups where it's very like, you know, hyper mask kind of culture. And I think that might be where some of the stud culture comes from, of a lot of like, I don't let my woman do that. I don't let women do that. Like there's very like it's interesting for me because I'm black, you know. So it's like when I interact with queer black women, I know I'm not usually what they are used to, because I'm, you know, I'm not, you know, like a lot. There's a lot of, you know, in I don't know about Asians too much. I don't know about Asian culture too much when it comes to queer culture, but I know with Latinos and black people, overall, it's like an overall generalization stereotype. I know there's exceptions. I'm an exception, so I know there's exceptions, and I have a lot of friends that are exceptions too. So I know there are definitely exceptions to the rule, but there's a lot of identity related things with gender and just like having to really hold so tight to like the masculinity with like stud females, that a lot of times there can be a little like, you know, like they're the one with the strap. Your femme partner likely isn't going to use a strap on you, and if they do, you're probably not going to say anything to your friends about it. It probably wouldn't be like something you would be like revealing to everybody. Just like with like Latino and, you know, black straight cis men, you don't usually see a lot of them, um, you know, being too open with what their female cis straight partners do in the bedroom. They're not like always seeming to express a very open-minded approach. It's very like, I'm the mask one, I do these things, you do those things because you're female and feminine. There's not like a whole lot of in between. Like I don't really like identify myself as like anything. Like you gotta get to know me and look at me and you'll figure it out. But I got a lot of like switch around here and there, and I just do my own thing. But I'd say, for lack of a better term, people would probably describe me more as like a STEM. I don't consider myself to be like a very emotionally masculine type of personality, at all. Um, like on the outside, like I kind of might dress a little on the mask end, but it's kind of like a femmed version of a mask version. I'm not too attached to a lot of the mask stuff, other than when it comes to my clothing. A little bit. Like, I have a certain preference for clothing that doesn't involve dresses and dress, like, female shoes. But I also don't really want to wear, like, a suit and a tie and, like, I don't want, like, really short hair or really flat chest or whatever. Like, I like my chest just like it is. But you know, sometimes it's annoying. You know, when it's like for athletic reasons, sometimes it can just be like, all right, like this is annoying, you know. But other than that, like I don't really have, or like sometimes like the way like certain button downs fit or whatever. If I gain a little bit of weight or have a little bit more shape to my figure, depending on what's going on with my, you know, you know, fat levels and other curvy levels and stuff. Like, you know, some shirts don't like fit. They're a little snug, you know. They're a little like, okay, like this doesn't like close properly, you know, in certain areas of my body, because it's not made for my body type. They don't like, they create them to be more like flat stomach, flat chest. Like I don't have a very flat stomach or a very flat chest, and so, you know, usually if I'm wearing very fitted, like if it's like a slim fit type of button down or something and it's kind of like a medium size, that's going to be too tight. But if I choose the same version that's like a large size, the arms are super long and the torso length is like past my belt and it's like super long, like past my pockets almost, and it's like a little long for me. But yeah, other than that kind of stuff, I don't really have a lot of like maskness to me. I think I kind of come across a little that way when I don't know somebody. Like when I'm in an environment, and especially if I'm kind of like not fully comfortable, I'll kind of give that kind of like a little bit. Like I might play it up a little bit, and depending who I'm around too, like, you know, I've been in situations where I'm like in very straight settings with my very gay friends, and I do feel like a little bit of an obligation around like some cis straight men to be like a little more like I know what's up kind of thing, like don't fuck with me kind of thing. But I'm not naturally like that. It's more of like a like I just kind of feel the need to put that out there sometimes, because a lot of times when you are a non-straight female and straight guys know that you're a non-straight female, that's not necessarily the safest place to be when you're with all your femme friends, and then like there's some weird, even if they're gay femme friends, you know, a lot of times, I don't know, like sometimes some cis straight men can get like a weird complex over it, and they'll literally come and like hit on all your friends, and like there'll be like 2-3 guys who are trying to like hook up with your girl or whatever, and it's like, what the fuck, you know. Like it's like there's all these other women here, like go talk to them, you know. But they see you and they're like, oh, like you're a little bit mask presenting female, and they just come after your situation. It's like, dude, we all came here and we're all gay and we just want to dance with each other, like we don't want anything to do with you, so it's like you can go, you know. But usually it's usually left up to like the mask looking ones to kind of be like, you know, like I'm gonna, you know, if something goes down, I'm usually the one that's gonna have to kind of like take some kind of make some kind of a decision. Like I'm not violent, I don't yell at people and scream at people and push people and all that, but it's just like if I have to call it and just be like, let's just go, you know, like usually that's gonna be on me. It's not like it happens all the time, but it's not like it never happens either. Like it happens enough that I know what's up, but like I know what's what. But yeah, like so I've definitely noticed that. I've definitely noticed the like I don't know. It's not something that I feel like it only really happens in like rave environments, club type of environments. Like the other day when I went to a rave, you know, I wasn't able to wear like a hat. Alright, this dude's literally gonna just like take a piss. I wasn't able to wear like a hat because that's the dress code. You can't wear caps that are like sports caps, and I don't have any that aren't sports. Like you could wear them like according to like the musicians or like the bands or whatever, but anything that was like sports, like most of my hats say LA. They're all like Dodgers themed, and I have one like Padres themed one, and then I have some others that I wouldn't really wear I don't really wear them too much, but I have some others. But shout out Dodgers. Yeah. So I kind of noticed that that I that I that I dude, now I have to pee. Goodness. Well, I'm gonna have to go home soon then, because I don't want to walk down to the bathroom, and I'm not gonna be peeing in the plants like this dude over here either. So yeah. Anyways, is he burying it? Oh, he better not be taking a dump. I mean, there's a bathroom down there. I don't know what to say sometimes. He picked up something off the ground near my car, and then he went over near the bushes and peed in the dirt. And it looks like he attempted to bury whatever it is that he found in the pee dirt. But I don't know for sure because I'm trying not to look because I don't know what's going on. And that was weird. I don't know, man. I don't know if that's what I even saw or if that's what I'm interpreting, but whatever. You gotta love the beach. Yeah, but I don't really know. Like, it doesn't happen a lot, but basically, I was at, I don't know if I want to describe this, but basically, yeah, when I went to this rave, I was kind of like, I wasn't like dressed super femme, but I was dressed to the dress code that would let me in the door. But I wasn't wearing a baseball cap. And I do notice a lot of times when I have like a cap on, a lot of times I might be perceived more masked or more, I might be mistaken a lot more often for a male. I definitely know that for a fact. And especially when it's like dark, like people don't really know. Like sometimes they just kind of like, oh, you're wearing a hat and you look like that and you're wearing those clothes, and like people just kind of like assume I'm a guy, and then I start talking and they hear my voice and they're like, you're not a dude, like, you know. But it was just kind of interesting to me because like I guess so the scenario that happened, and it was like a really quick like couple second thing. Like I don't know how this happened or what. Like it was a rave. It was mostly men. There were a lot of men there. A whole lot of men, like a whole lot of men compared to how many women there were. Like there were women. It wasn't like there weren't any women, but it wasn't like there were guys taking their dates there, and it was mostly guys. At least where I was, kind of closer to the front, there were a lot of men. And so, and it was packed. Like this place was packed out, and it was all guys. And I know, because even when we walked out to leave, like we left before it ended, so we walked out to leave, and it was packed all the way to the back, and there were still people coming in the door, like getting carted to come in. They were still like holding people at the door, allowing them to come in, and it was all like mostly men in the line, mostly men in the club. Like not like it's not like there weren't any women, but it was very noticeably mostly men. The area where I was standing were a whole lot of guys, a whole lot of men. Like I'm not shitting on them. It was fine. Like they have every right to be there. Mostly every one of them was fine. Like with what they were doing, there was no complaint other than this one scenario. So I'm there. I'm like, you know, just dancing. Me and my friend are like dancing. We're not dancing together because we're both like facing the DJ dancing. And about like four. Well, first it was two, and then there were two other women. So two of them were Asian, two of them looked like maybe they were like Latina. They were dancing with each other right next to me, and then I kind of but like looked over, and I kind of like, I don't know what I did, if I smiled or what. I wasn't talking to any of these people, but like they came up and started like dancing closer to me, like not like on me, but kind of on me. Like they weren't like not touching me in any way, but they weren't like fully engaging me in this like dancing. But there was a little bit of like, you know, an arm touch, an arm graze, kind of like put your hand on my shoulder kind of thing. That they were kind of like incorporating me a little bit in their dancing. Not too much. And then like these other two ladies come over and start kind of dancing with them, but the second two that came over were kind of more sexually dancing, and they were kind of more like touching each other, and like one of them was kind of bent over, like shaking it, twerking a little bit, and like the music wasn't it wasn't really that kind of music. It was freaking like EDM, like hard EDM. Like it was a hard set. Like it was a real hard set. So I was just like, damn, like, and so like these women start dancing, and then all these guys start coming over to just like dance around them, and they're all like trying to get in there, and I'm just thinking like, what the hell, you know, like. And this one guy literally, like, these two women were like on either side of me, and this one guy literally comes up in front of me, like in front of me, and backs like part of his elbow, part of his arm, like into me to push me back out of the way so he could dance in between them. And they just left because they weren't like interested in him, and they just left. Like, I'm not saying they were interested in me, but I was just like, what the fuck, if you guys do that? Like, they're just like, I'm gonna literally push your ass out of the way because I want to dance with these girls. And I'm just like, I didn't do anything. I did not a thing. I was standing there, you know, dancing with these women, just having fun. Like, you know, I wasn't trying to talk to them. I wasn't trying to get their number. I'm just like, I see what's up. I know what's going on here. Like, you see that I'm a female, and you see that I'm maybe not like the most femme of females, and maybe you like that, and you want to dance with me, and I'm not going to stop you. And that's basically how we leave things. Like, that is a normal situation in a club setting or a dance setting for women. That is normal. It's very normal for women who are into women, or who like women, or who are, you know, friendly with women, to be very friendly with other women. Like, there's nothing, like, I don't know, like, there's a lot of, like, usually I would say there's a lot of respect. Like, sometimes I would say, and this wasn't a gay club, this was Exchange LA, it was not a gay club. These like, in gay clubs, it's, you know, like a little different, because, you know, everyone kind of assumes everyone else is kind of gay. So but with them, I was kind of like, you know, I kind of feel like they gave me like the vibe, but they kind of were just like, because I was dancing, like, no one really in my section was really dancing too much but me and my friend next to me, and then these other four women. Like, we were all dancing, and nobody else was real. Like, they were kind of like bopping to the music and stuff, but we were like going kind of hard. So like, but then like when they came over and started dancing, I kind of like was like, oh, they might actually want to dance together. So you kind of like, I toned it down a little bit, because I'm like, I don't want to be like smacking anybody around, like, you know, like elbow somebody and like step on someone and stomp on the other one or whatever. But like, you know, because I'm not very coordinated, and I had an edible in my system, and I was just like, I'm here to go hard or go home, you know. Like, I was like, this is my exercise for today. Like, I'm getting it. Like, I don't really care, you know. And it was dark in there too, so it was like, it just kind of like makes the situation a little easier. I'm not like very open with dancing. I'm not a very skilled dancer, but it's something I do for like exercise. Not like a dancer, like go-go dancer or stripper or anything. Shout out to all of them. Like, I got nothing against them at all. I appreciate the job that they do well. I appreciate it all. But yeah, I don't really know. But I've seen that happen before, like, not in gay clubs, but I've seen it happen in like straight environments where it's like, you know, it is kind of a complaint that I've noticed a lot of like, that I've noticed a lot of females have, about kind of dudes being a little pushy. Like, that wasn't the only thing that happened. Not only did this guy kind of push me out of the way, because this other woman, like, kind of like, I don't even know how to describe it, because it was like split second, like real quick kind of thing, and I was like, I don't want anything to do with this, like, circle jerk kind of situation going on. Like, I don't know what these guys are trying to do, but I'm like, clearly these women are not interested, or else they would have tried to dance with them anyways. Like, these guys had already been there. They were all there None of these women were like coming up to them trying to dance. I think it was just like, oh, they saw other women and they're like, let's all dance with each other. Like, and that's not even uncommon in clubs. Like in straight clubs, you'll see a lot of women go out with their women friends and they'll go dance with the other women. Like they just dance with each other. Like that's very common. And even in LA and other cities, there've been a lot of queer parties where they throw women parties. It's women only, women identified parties. It's run by women, it's for women, by women. You know, you can be a trans woman, but you have to be woman identified to go to these parties. Like, um, men aren't allowed there, and you know, it's great. Um, I'm not saying it's great because there's no men, but the energy is different because it's like nobody's like trying to like fend off men or be like, no, thank you, sir, I'm not interested, or like deal with the men there. There are no men, and so you're just like dancing with women, and there's only that option. So if you don't like women, you're probably not going to go to something like that. If you don't want to dance with other women or meet other women or talk to other women or be around other women, you're probably just not going to go to that kind of event. And men aren't invited, or men, identified men, are not invited, and so it's women. And the way that women kind of interact with each other in those spaces is pretty sexual. I don't know if they're all gay. I don't really know what's going on. I never really care. I'm like, if you're dancing with me, I don't care what you are, really. Um, I haven't really had a whole lot of situations where guys wanted to dance with me, for obvious reasons, I think. I mean, gay guys will dance with me, like, but I don't really know a lot of like cis straight dudes that are just like aching to dance with me. Like usually it's like they will leave me alone, and I usually don't mind. Um, I mean, I would say I had a situation at, I think it was Vegas Pride, Black Pride. I think it was Vegas. No, it was Vegas Pride. It wasn't the Black Pride. It was the City Pride. And it was, there was a, I don't know how they identified, but they might have been a trans male, but I don't really know how they actually identified. Um, their English was a little limited. It was a, like they were from, like we were talking, it was a, we were watching drag queens, and but it was like some from Long Beach, some of the like the Latinx drag queens from Long Beach. Some of them came down to came out to Vegas for Pride, and so I think we were at Piranha, a club there. It's one of the gay clubs, and we, you know, I'm there watching the drag show, and you know, I see these two people walk in. I can't remember the other one, but one was short, one was tall, and the taller one kind of, you know, like after the drag, like they were there right for the end of the last drag performance. The taller one kind of came up to me and like, I don't remember how this conversation started. Like they kind of started talking a little bit, and like I think because I had an LA hat on, that's probably what they were like. Oh, like something about LA or whatever, and they're like, I'm from TJ, like I'm from Tijuana, you know. And I was like, oh, like, because at the time I was living in San Diego. I was like, oh yeah, I'm from San Diego, like we're neighbors, you know. And like, and so I was like, you know, like kind of like, I don't know if it was like a give me a hug kind of thing. Like we were just kind of like, we started talking a little bit, and then we because I guess maybe they were like, oh, like you're not from here, I'm not from here, like, you know. And I think they were with somebody at the time. Like they weren't walking around by themselves, but because I saw them later on in the night too. But yeah, they were walking over to like where I was, and like we watched the end of the drag show. Like we were kind of talking a little bit during it, and then after that they put on some kind of music, and I'm not very cultured enough to know the different types of Latin music, but it was the kind of music that you dance kind of like close to. It was like a traditional type of music, but it wasn't like slow paced, and you kind of like, I don't know how to describe what it is, but there's a certain dance that people do to it. that I've seen. I don't know if it's like a ranchero style. I don't really know. I don't even want to like start throwing words out there because I'm gonna find out what it's called because I've seen it before. I'm really into norteño. Like that's my thing. I know it's not even popular. I feel like most people hate it. Like I've never met one Latino or Latinx person that likes norteño music, but I like norteño music. I am into that shit. Like I like it. I think it sounds fun. I have no idea what it's about, but a lot of times it sounds like they're just having so much fun. And like there's mariachi, there's banda, there's all kinds of music. But this specific type of music, there's a certain dance where you're kind of like holding each other a little bit, but it's like a faster style music. So usually it's like you kind of have your legs kind of in this way where it's like they're kind of like, for lack of a better explanation, one person's leg is in one person's crotch and vice versa. Like, I don't know. You're not standing like leg to leg. You're standing like leg to crotch kind of situation. And, so we kind of got a couple dance steps, like not the full song, but we were kind of like dancing a little bit to that song like that. And I don't really know how to dance that kind of music. Like I've done it before just because somebody has to lead. And so if somebody else is leading, I can kind of like do it, but it's not like a skill that I have. And so they were kind of like doing that. Like they started kind of like dancing with me like that. And I was into it. I was like, this is fun. I was enjoying myself. It was a good time. But it's like, it wasn't like disrespectful. It wasn't like, aggressive or like, I didn't feel like, oh, I have to dance with this person because they're like holding on to me and like spinning me all over the place and like I have no say in this. Like it was very like friendly and like, we saw each other a couple other times throughout the night and kind of like, whatever. But we kind of saw each other a little bit after that. It was fun, but the reason why I say that I don't know what this person's identity was, and not that it really matters because I found them attractive, but I kind of knew that, like there was not there was no package there. So basically I was like, oh, okay. Like, and so that's how I found that out, but I didn't really mind. I was just kind of like, I didn't know what to expect. I never know what to expect, and I didn't really care. Like, to me, it doesn't really make a difference, But I was just, like, genitalia-wise, I kind of... Yeah, like, genitalia-wise, I kind of, like, figured out just because of how the dancing was going. I was like, okay, cool, and I just kind of left it at that. Like, I didn't really care. Like, I was with my own crew, but I didn't really say anything to my own friends. I was like, I'm not really gonna say anything, but because it didn't really matter. I'm like, I don't know who this person is, or what they want other people knowing about them, or whatever. Now it's not really an issue because like there's no way to really identify this person. Like I never got their name, never got their number. I don't know. Even if I saw them again, I don't know if I could really pick them out in a crowd. Their energy, I could pick out the energy, but as far as the way they look, they probably look different now too, like a little bit. So I don't know if I could really pick out how they looked, but as far as how their energy was, and when we were talking, if I came across them again in a social setting, I would be like, I recognize this person. But yeah, like when it comes to like clubs, dancing, that kind of stuff, it's a little bit different, I'd say. Like, queer clubs in general, a lot of them don't really have like very strict dress codes, because that's going to exclude a lot of people. That's kind of one of a little bit of an anxiety point with me with like straight clubs, is the freaking what do you call it, the dress codes, because it's like you kind of have to dress a certain way. And I don't wear mini skirts, I don't wear skirts or dresses and all that kind of stuff. So if they don't accept me at the door as I am, then I'm not gonna get in. So and I never know if that's gonna happen. It's only happened to me once because I had shorts on, but I had a button down and I had Chino's in the car. Now here comes another fucker. Always. Just give me a minute. Longer minute. Oh my gosh, I don't even know what to say. There's this dude with like I don't even know if it's a rabbit. I guess it's a rabbit ear. It looked almost like a Batman face, like an eye mask, but it has bunny ears. I'm assuming those are bunny ears. It's still got the tag on the back, and they came and stood next to my car to take pictures of the ocean. And this dude's like, I'm taking a picture of you taking a picture of the ocean. And they're like trying to take a picture of each other. I don't understand what the heck that was, but I don't know. They came and stood like right next to my car to do it, so I stopped recording. But they're gone now, finally. They left. I had to stop recording because I was like, I don't want to pause for like however long their photo shoot's gonna last. Quite a few minutes there. But yeah, yeah, like, I don't know, just that rave situation, not the Vegas Pride, but the one I was talking about before that, like the rave from the other weekend. That was a weird situation, but that's not the only time that's ever happened. It's not something I've never seen where it's like there's women kind of dancing and they're clearly dancing with each other, and then guys come up and want to be like a part of it, or like maybe it's because it's like a little bit of a fetishy thing to see like two femme women dancing with one another, and then guys sometimes are kind of into that and they want to like be a part of it. They want to dance with them, they want to hook up with them, they want to be around two women that look like they're like kind of having like a fun little sexy dance time with each other. I've definitely noticed that attracts a lot of guys' attention, and I try to shit on it. Like, I'm not saying that like guys shouldn't be attracted to it. It's just kind of interesting because like usually the scenario that I usually come across it in is because I'm usually with my gay friends. Usually that's what it is I'm with my gay friends that are women, that are femme, and they're dancing with each other, and then some straight dudes come over and want to like dance with them. And it's like, or I'll go out with a lot of female friends, and like, let's say five or six queer women that are quite femme, and we'll all be kind of like girls' night kind of thing, and it might be at a straight club, it might be at a gay club, but I've never really gotten this at a gay club. Like, gay dudes will come up and dance, but it's a different vibe. Like, they're kind of just friendly and fun, and like they just want to talk, and they like having little catty conversations, and just like hanging out with some random like lesbian strangers and stuff, and they kind of like get into it, and they kind of like being around some gay guys, like being around like femme energy and kind of stuff like that, and so they kind of just want to vibe and hang, and like they'll shake it, and they'll be twerking around and stuff too. Like, it's kind of like, it's not usually like a oh, I'm mask kind of dominating, coming in from this like mask angle. Like, they're usually kind of like I wouldn't say they're always like kind of like effeminate. Like, sometimes they're more effeminate, sometimes they're more, they'll do like little dance battles and stuff, and sometimes they're more effeminate, sometimes they're more just gay guys, like they're not really very femme or very masc. They might be somewhere in the middle, or they might just be masc. They might be bears. Like, they might just be some bear dudes coming over, you know. Like, I've gone to a club that was all bears for the most part, but me and like one other person. Um, and they were friendly to me. Like, I clearly didn't know what that place was. It was like the cheapest place in San Francisco that we were walking around looking during one of the prides. You know, we were looking for places to go, and I was like, dude, the covers are really high, because we paid like a lot to already go there, and now it would be even way more, but we paid a lot to go. And um, I didn't really know what to do, because I was there with a guy friend of mine, a gay guy friend of mine, and like they wanted to, you know, be around men. So I was like, the night before we had gone to like Jolene's, and I think they had like a trans go-go night, but it was mostly women there. And then we went to, but it was kind of a mix. It was a mix too. There were dudes too. But yeah, we went to this other club, and I don't know the name. I could probably find the name, but I don't know the name of it. And it was all bears, and I was just there, like, my female self, and like, you know, I got a lot of compliments on my button up, and I was just like chilling, and like, you know, the dudes were nice, the guys were nice, and I talked to some of them, and like, you know, we kind of exchanged like Instagrams a little bit, and like a little kind of weird stuff like that, and like we still talk on Instagram a little bit, but yeah, it was kind of funny. Like, I was just kind of like, I walked in and I was like, wow, there's a lot of men here. And I was like, there's only men here, you know? And I was like, this is weird to me. And like, I clearly didn't know where I was, but I had already paid the cover. I can't remember if that's the place they asked if I wanted to go in. Like, the door guy asked me if I wanted to go in. I can't remember if that's the place where they were like, just look around and see if it's what you want, and then come back, and you can pay the cover if you want to stay, you know. I can't remember if that's the place where that happened, because I think they knew that I didn't know where I was or what I was doing. And I was just kind of like walking in like, oh, it's just a gay club. I'm like, oh, it's like a very specific, like, either it was a specific night or it was a specific type of club that I was not aware of. Like, I've never, like, San Diego, LA, there aren't really spaces like that are very like specific types. Like, you don't have like otter clubs, or like there's a lesbian club in San Diego. There aren't any in LA. And like I said, they have like gay women parties, and like women who like women and women identified parties, but they don't have like actual physical club that they own. And some clubs have like certain nights, like they'll have like ladies' night, or like, you know, some kind of like a leather night. Like, I know Riches did that a little bit. Sometimes they had like a leather night, and like they had like some other kinds of like nights, a little bit diverse type of things. They don't call it Black Night, but I've noticed that San Diego, like Riches in San Diego, has been on occasion, you know, allotting the larger room that's usually used for EDM. Usually hip hop, R&B, reggaeton, kind of Latin music is kind of like in the small room, with a smaller dance floor, and then there's this huge room that has like a much larger dance floor and a big stage and everything. And they've been kind of like hip hop in the back, I don't know what what it's called, but they've started doing that. I've noticed ever since Black Pride, every so often they'll have a night where it's like the bigger room they'll use for like, you know, that kind of music. And I don't know, like, they don't call it like a black night, but it's like, maybe it is to attract more like minorities, like ethnic minorities, because a lot of them tend to kind of stay in that room a lot of the time, with the music, because it's like hip hop and stuff. Not saying that like people have to like go towards their ethnicity's music or whatever. Like, it's not really like that, but I'd say like you do notice a majority of like certain ethnicities in certain places at certain times. And I'm not sure if they've done it for that reason, to like attract more minorities on occasion, but it's not like a night of the week or like every single weekend or whatever, every single week. It's like in the middle of the week, like once a month or something. Like, I don't even know if it's even that often. And I don't know if they do that leather night very often either, but, yeah, I've never really come across straight clubs that do anything like that. Like, I think straight clubs just have straightness. Like, I don't know. Like, the Eagle's a gay club, and it's like a leather club, but it's mostly men. It's mostly dom and sub men for the most part, from what I've noticed. I don't think they have they might have straight clubs that are like that. They're kind of like leather clubs. I don't really know. I don't really look for them, but I'm pretty sure they exist. But I don't know if they have clubs where it's like trans night or whatever kind of go-go dancer specific nights, like twinks or bears or otters or whatever, whoever's going to be dancing that night or whatever. Like, I don't know if straight culture really distinguishes between, like, usually I think in straight clubs, if there's going to be any dancers, it's usually going to be female dancers, if any. I've never really gone to like a straight club and seen like male go-go's. Like, I don't think I've ever seen that. I mean, they have strip clubs. I don't know if I've ever been to a strip club with men. Like, I've been to events where people were stripping that were men, but it wasn't a strip club. It just happened to turn into that. Like, the event just happened to just have people stripping, but it wasn't a stripping event necessarily. Like, it wasn't like an actual club that's all they do. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I got into all these other different things about clubs and bars and stuff, but there's definitely a difference, which is kind of why I do gravitate more towards the LGBT clubs, is because they are more flexible with a lot of stuff, and they are more open-minded with a lot of stuff, and there is a lot more diverse stuff happening. But I also don't follow straight clubs, so I don't really know what they do. They might just be doing like everything that I just mentioned, and I would never know because I don't really pay attention to what they do. The only time I really try to go to straight clubs is if I have straight friends that have their birthdays at straight clubs, or if I really want some whiskey and want to go to 7 Grand or something, or if I really want like if there's like an event that I want to go to that's hosted at a straight club, like I said, like Exchange LA, they had a rave that was hosted there. I'll go, but it's like I'm not usually in like straight clubs unless there's like a reason to be there. Like, I really don't have much desire to really go because like I'm not usually, like, there's not much to look at. I don't really find a lot to look at. Like, when I'm in straight clubs, I'm not really looking for women because I assume that they're not interested. Or they might be with a guy, or they might be looking for guys. I usually don't approach women at all at straight clubs, because I don't know what's happening. I don't know. I'm a stranger here. I'm a guest in this environment, so I don't really know what to do. Like, I like it though. I love live music. I love DJs. I love just loud music. I don't really care about too much about that. But dude, my phone might die soon. Just have 4%. Shoot, I'm gonna wait till it gets to 2% and then start driving. But yeah, yeah, that's kind of my take on things. I could be so wrong. On all of this. But that's kind of my experiences. So I can't really speak to everybody's experiences, but that's the kind of stuff I hear. That's the kind of stuff I see. The funniest thing really was that rave situation where I was just like, this bro's really just gonna push me out of the way here to try to get to these ladies. And like, other guys were like congregating, like they weren't, if you know, okay, so like usually at raves, everyone for the most part is facing the DJ, right? Because there's like a light show and like a screen in the back and like different visuals and stuff going on, and the DJ's there. It's like sometimes you'll dance with your friends and stuff and you won't really face the DJ, or you might be like talking to your friends or whatever. Maybe it's kind of hard to talk. Like, I could barely, like, that bass was so loud I could barely even hear. Like, we're like screaming in each other's ears, and it was like only like at the beginning of a new DJ set when it was like quiet and like the intro. But they just went straight into the next sets. Like, they went from one set directly to the next. Like, there was no like 15-minute break between, 5-minute break between for the setup. Like, they just like transitioned straight. Like, one DJ went off and the other one just started the intro to their set, and then they just kind of like, it would just get more and more pumped. You know how it is with EDM. It's like they start out whatever milder version of whatever they're gonna do, and the intro usually like pumps you up, and then they just like grab your attention and they just start, you know. But yeah, this was like a really hard set, and like it kept getting more amped up, like harder, and then like that's when all of us were like the ones of us who were the few of us dancing at that section, because it was so packed too. It was kind of hard to dance, and people kept packing forward more and more, and we were already in the front because we got there early, and then like we got there like during the first DJ set, and so we were probably like, if you had to put like lines of people, I'd say there were probably like 8 people stacked in front of me, maybe about 8 people distance from the DJ set stacked in front of me at most. I think it was probably even less than that. It was probably like 5 or 6 people, but I think it was maybe 8 most in front of me. Yeah. But all the way across like that, all the way across the front of the stage, there was like maybe 8 people deep between ourselves and the stage, and it was just really interesting, you know, to see that happen. But yeah, like I was like, cause I don't know, we've been like dancing for a while. Like, it wasn't like we were just starting and it was like 1 second later, like these dudes come over. Like I was dancing, me and my friend were dancing, and then eventually these ladies come over and start dancing. Like, they pushed their way like a little forward, cause they weren't there the whole time. And then they came forward and started dancing closer to where I was, and then like, you know, like I kind of saw them, but I was like, I recognized that they were like dancing with each other, and I was like I was happy for them. I was like, okay, you know, like, because they had some moves too, and they were like good dancers, and I was just kind of like smiling because I was just like happy. Like, I was like, I love seeing that, you know. And I was like, I don't know if they're gay, they might have been straight, I have no idea what was going on, but you know, I was like, you know, thanks for the welcome and the invite, you know. Like, I wasn't, you know, gonna like push them away or anything, because I was enjoying the whole situation, so I was like into it. But it was kind of funny though. Like, yeah, like once those other women started dancing kind of more sexually with each other and stuff, like really it caught a lot of guys' attention, and it was just interesting to me how they all kind of flocked over to kind of get the opportunity. I don't know if it was to watch or maybe kind of get involved with them, and just like the amount of effort that was being taken, you know, to kind of like get closer to these women. It's like they weren't even the performance, you know. The performance was like on the stage, and they like, these guys like literally, like a couple of them even like tapping each other on the shoulders to like point back and be like, look at those girls, you know. And like, you know, and then they all were like turned, like not even facing the DJ anymore, they were like turned backwards, like facing the women, you know. And because some of them were in front of these women, and then some other, I don't know where that guy came from who like pushed me out of the way, but I got like bumped out of the way just so some other dude could try to get his opportunity, and I was like, what the fuck, like. But I don't know, they didn't seem interested, and they all kind of left, and I was just like, damn it, you guys scared away the women, like, like, go away, like, you scared them away. It's almost like, I don't know if you've ever been like, this is a stupid example, but like if you've ever been like at the beach and, you know, you see like a flock of like pelicans or some kind of bird that's a little more rare, and they're all just like chilling at the beach, and you try to take a picture, and here comes a little kid that comes through like running and screaming, like little toddler coming through, and like scares all the birds away. That's kind of how I felt. I was like, I was just trying to enjoy this moment, and you guys scared away all the women. But yeah, it was kind of funny too, because I was like, I don't even think they realized what was going on. It was like, these women clearly just wanted to dance with their friends. Like, they weren't really trying to like get involved with all these dudes, and like, you know, they clearly, one of them was trying to like have the other one in front. One was like bent over in front of the other one, and it's like, I don't, some other dude like comes up from behind and starts like trying to dance with her, and it's just like, she wasn't having it. She just like turned around, like she took her friend, like turned around, like they just walked out. And I was just like, oh shit. Like, and then all the guys just kind of like left it alone and just kind of went back to like paying attention to the DJ set and stuff. And I was just like, I don't even know what to say. Like, but that's kind of like an interesting thing though, because like I know there is that like stereotype, and pretty much truth, that like with women a lot of times like nobody might really initiate too much. Like, I think that's maybe a little not too clear, because like for me, I think I don't really initiate a lot at all. Like, usually it's other people initiating things with me. But I think it's because I clearly, like, because I look the way that I look, I don't look like a cis straight woman. Especially when I'm in gay spaces, I think people kind of know what's up. So, like, like, I don't really approach them. Like, I'm not saying that I'm, like, I've got any kind of popularity factor to me whatsoever, but I'm just saying, like, I don't, like, people know that I'm queer. Like, they don't have to like guess necessarily too much. Like, there's no like, oh, can I dance with you? It's like, we're all on this dance floor. They're just gonna start dancing with me if that's what they want to do. And that's kind of a common experience sometimes. Like, I haven't really been to any queer clubs in a really long time, but a lot of times at gay clubs that can happen a lot. Like, I'll just be like chilling, dancing, and then some lady will come up and just start dancing with me. I'm like, cool. Like, I don't really care if they get handsy or whatever. I'm like, you do what you want to do. Like, I'm not gonna really stop you. But yeah, I just find it interesting. Like, that is kind of interesting. Like, I don't really know if it's like that with the straights. Like, if guys and women go to clubs and a guy, I don't know, do guys just start filling up women? Like, is that how that goes? Maybe they do. I don't know. Like, I don't really know how that works. Or do women just start doing that to men? I don't really know. But my experience in gay clubs is that just happens. Like, somebody will initiate and then it just starts happening that way. Like, I don't feel like harassed by it or anything. Like, usually they ask. Like, they'll start doing something and ask, and I'll say yes. And that's how that goes. Like, there's not really much more to it. But, alright, somebody's parking next to me. I need to go to the bathroom. I'm gonna go home. I've been recording for way too long. It's gonna be like a 2-hour episode, guys, but that's what happens when I am trying to avoid doing job applications. Alright, guys, thanks for listening.